Hello, so today I'm going to be discussing the difference between the book and the film Solaris, which is a book which was written by the author Lem and then was adapted into a film in 1976 by Tarkovsky. Both were very, critically acclaimed, award-winning pieces of art, both the book and the movie. However, they're both very different from each other, and there were a lot of disagreements between the author and the director of the movie. Um, but they're both about the same story, and so it's cool to see how the film and the literature can differ in perspectives and ultimately, convey different themes while telling the same story. So I'm just gonna go into what the book is about. It's about the planet Solaris, and so what Lem was attempting to do was draw a comparison into the science fiction world and what it would be like when we actually contact alien life forms. So Solaris is this oceanic planet which itself is a life form. So when the ship is circling it, there's a bunch of weird things that are happening within the ship. Somebody commits suicide. Everyone's just acting kind of weird. So they send Kelvin, the psychiatrist, out there to go check it out. And, so one of the scenes of the movie is when he wakes up and he sees his ex-wife next to him in the bed. And she killed herself a couple years back. So, obviously the ship is or not the ship, but the planet is altering their subconscious and manipulating them and making them, see and hear weird things. So the main difference that comes between the book and the film, and kind of what was discussed between the author and the director, was the film goes a lot more in depth within the characters of the movie and less about the actual alien life form. So when Lem was writing this book, he obviously, is a science fiction writer and is trying to, draw more attention to the life form or the alien planet, and is ultimately trying to tell us, how impossible it is to actually contact and understand alien life form. And I mean, kind of anything that we think we know is true is not, because we don't actually know anything about alien life forms, right? But his attempt at what it would look like ultimately, plays into the bigger picture of how impossible it is for us to accomplish. And yet, the movie, on the other hand, focuses more on the characters of the film and kind of tries to draw more themes out of the characters interacting with themselves and their past sins and how that influences, their relationships with each other. And so that was kind of obviously the main beef between Lem and Tarkovsky, because Lem saw the movie, he saw half of it and apparently turned it off because he hated it, but he was like, has way too much to do with the characters. And so an example of this in the movie is when the examples of this in the movie is just how depth the movie goes into the character, the psychiatrist Kelvin, and we see his mom and his brother. So it draws a lot of attention away from kind of what Lem was originally trying to do with, the science fiction piece and how it would, influence the culture and his society. And it took it and it kind of twisted it and made it more reflectionary upon like humans, not the science fiction aspect of it. So when you kind of go to make a judgment call about whether the book or the film was better, I mean, I wouldn't really necessarily say one is better than the other. I think they're different, and I think they both have different interpretations. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. When a director is directing a film, it's going to be his interpretation on the piece in a way that presents it in the film. And it's actually, for example, when they introduce Kelvin's whole extended family, that's totally justified in the film, because when you're presenting a movie to an audience, they have to know some context about the situation. You kind of just can't throw all these weird scenes out there and give no prior explanation to what they mean or how it influences the plot of the story, which therefore, if you don't, makes it a lot harder for the viewer to understand. So in terms of which one I liked more, I think I personally enjoyed reading it more. I personally like books more, and I think reading the original interpretation of the text is cool, because I mean, ultimately, that's the original, way that it was supposed to be interpreted and conveyed to the reader, versus a movie, which is obviously more entertaining, but I think is less effective, you know, when observing the author's goal. So yeah, thank you for your time, and that is my film slash book review.